Quite often when I'm talking to potentially new homeowners, I'm constantly asked what loan can they qualify for or apply for that is specific for first-time home buyers. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about the loans that apply for first-time home buyers and actually unpack some of the myths that may come along with these loans. And I also want to talk about some of the other options that are out there that will help people, whether you owned a home before or this is your first time buying a home. I want to talk about some things that will help you get in the doors of a new home. But before we jump into any of that, just a little bit of house cleaning. I'm Chris Nelson, realtor with the Nelson Home Group, helping buyers and sellers here in the greater Philadelphia area. And do me a favor, if you find any value to this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. It definitely helps the YouTube algorithms. And if you have been here before, welcome back. Do me a favor though, consider subscribing if you haven't already done so, and mash that bell. Mash that bell so that you're notified when I do post content. So for the most part, when people are referring to a first-time home buyer mortgage, they're generally referring to an FHA loan. Years ago, an FHA loan really was specific to first-time home buyers. If you bought a home before and you went to go apply for a new loan, FHA was not an option. But now, and for the last decade or so, it has been. When you apply for an FHA loan, there are some things to keep in mind. Yes, if you haven't owned a home before, then great, you're a first-time home buyer. You theoretically could qualify for this loan. But if you've owned a home before and you sold it and you no longer own a home, let's say that you're renting a home now, you may also qualify for FHA. Now, the rule of thumb is that you can't own a home or have a mortgage at the time you apply for the FHA loan. And to take it a step further, if you did own a home in the last 3 years, more than likely you're not going to qualify for FHA. So if you owned a home before and you sold it and you don't have any mortgages in your name, and let's just say that you've been renting or living with family for a duration of 3 years, well, you actually would potentially qualify for an FHA loan again. Now, FHA has been pretty popular to first-time home buyers because the underwriting for an FHA loan is a little bit different than a conventional loan. It is easier to qualify for an FHA loan than it is a conventional loan. Some of the things that they look for when applying for an FHA loan, with the exception of what we just discussed, you cannot own a home currently, you cannot have any mortgages in your name at this time. But you also need to have a credit score of roughly 620 or better. You also need to be in position to put 3.5% down. If you're buying a home and the mortgage amount is $200,000, well, in this scenario, you would need about $7,000 down in order to qualify for that loan. Underwriting also looks for acceptable debt to income ratio. This is how much money you make versus how much debt you have. And they will also look for reserves. Basically, when you close on the property, they want to make sure that in the event something that were to arise that would create a financial burden for you, they want to make sure that you have reserves, anywhere between 2 and 6 months of mortgage payments in the bank at the time of closing. And that's pretty much it. Those are the general things that they look for when they go to qualify you for an FHA loan. So to recap, if you have a credit score of 620 or better, you have 3.5% down, you have income, right? In order to have a debt to income ratio, you have to have income. But as long as your debt to income ratio is reasonable and you have reserves, theoretically, you'll qualify for an FHA mortgage, again, as long as you haven't had a mortgage or own a home currently. Generally, this is the loan that people are thinking of when they refer to a first-time home buyer loan. Now, there are some other things that are out there that will help. I'm going to use the term first-time home buyers or buyers who haven't owned a home in the last 3 years. There are mortgages out there. As a matter of fact, PHFA, which is Pennsylvania Housing Financial Administration, they actually have programs which are loans that are designed to help people get in a home. Now, these loans are underwritten a little bit different, which again helps people who may have some blemishes or somewhat of a creative scenario get in the doors of a home. And some of the loans that quickly come to mind are the FHA Preferred, a Keystone Loan Program, and the last one that comes to mind is a Keystone Government Loan. Again, all of these are loans that you can apply for in the state of Pennsylvania through PHFA. Now, there's a list. You have to use one of the lenders that are on that list. Not every financial institution will offer these loan programs, but again, the moral of the story is that they're out there. Another thing that you can do is take advantage of some of the grants that are out there. We haven't seen many people use grants in 2021 and 2022, and a lot of that has to do with the state of the market. Things were just moving so fast where most people were accepting cash offers or offers with very few contingencies. With that being said, grants kind of took a back seat over the last few years, but I do believe that we're going to see more consumers take advantage of grants in 2023 and 2024, and probably for the next few years. Grants are designed to give you down payment assistance. These loans are usually forgiven over a certain amount of time. And one of the biggest things to remember when it comes to either the loan programs or the grants is that you need to inquire about them before you find a property. There's things that you will need to do, such as connect with a counselor and maybe go through a little bit of training before you're eligible for either the loan or the grant. But these grants, as I mentioned, are out there and for the most part are forgivable. I've seen grants that have given buyers up to $15,000 towards their home purchase, which is pretty impressive. Now, some of the grants that come to mind is the KFIT, which has become very popular over the last few years. That stands for Keystone Forgivable in 10 Years Grant. So after 10 years, whatever amount of money you were given is forgiven to you. You actually don't have to pay that back. There's also the Keystone Assistance Program. There's a homestead closing cost and down payment assistance program. And the last one that comes to mind is the Access Down Payment and Closing Cost Grant. So there's quite a few of them out there. If you have any questions on them or how they work, feel free to let me know. I would be more than happy to walk you through some of the prerequisites and some of the income requirements that are affiliated with either the loan programs or the grant programs. And if you're thinking about buying a home and you're not sure where to get started, download the buyer guide. There's a buyer's guide. There's a link to our buyer guide in the description below, which is a roadmap to help you get from where you're at to where you want to be. And again, if you have any questions or you want to have a 15-minute consultation, there's also a link in the description for you to use so that you can get directly on my calendar. So hopefully this video has been of some value to you, and maybe it has given you the information that will help you become a homeowner in 2023. Once again, I'm Chris Nelson with the Nelson Home Group, your realtor helping buyers and sellers here in the greater Philadelphia area. If there's ever anything I can do, please do not hesitate to reach out.